Hey everybody, I just thought I'd get on here and give a quick update about India, Nepal. It's the first Hindu country that I've got to go to. Um, this is the second country or mission trip I got to go on with my wife as we are leading and training missionary squads to, be equipped and go to the nations and they're on a year-long mission trip called the World Race that they are going for 11 months, and me and Jenna, because we are getting to pour into these guys, um, are going out periodically, just about every 3 months. I got another trip coming up in May where we'll be going back to Turkey to meet these guys in the Islamic nations. But for this last trip, we were in Hindu nations, and this is my first time going to these nations and getting to actually experience the depth of idol worship that is actually there. They're just on the streets. They are, and everything they do, it's a whole culture. It's not just a religion. The Hindu religion is a whole culture, similar to, like, you would even say the American culture is woven with Christianity, and the Middle Eastern cultures are woven with Islam. It's like in the culture. It's more than just a religion. And these idols were in their streets, they were in their cars, they were in their lobbies. They would actually invite you to be a part of a ritual, just walking down the street or even walking into a lobby at a hostel or hotel to check in. Like, it's crazy the amount of depravity that is there, and brokenness and filth, quite honestly. I don't mean to sound harsh, but like, the things that were being worshipped in the spirit, you could see manifest into the physical. Just walking down the streets, it was, yes, I know it's a very impoverished country, and like, there's something to be said for that. I know that's a thing. But what is usually manifest in the physical starts from a place in the spirit. And you could kind of see the correlation to what that looked like. Just around the idol statues that would be there, it would be the most, it just breaks my heart. It was crazy. It was an experience like none other. People are beautiful though. They were wonderful. They were so nice, and their culture is different. They are a little more socially connected to one another, to say, I would say, very collectivist in idea and thinking. There is no street laws there, so the driving was very crazy. But it's interesting. You could sense the spiritual wall that was there, especially to Christianity. Right now, it's a very high red zone for Christianity, especially for locals that are Christian in their own countries. Even Islamic religions that are there is still like a high resistance to those religions in this culture right now. There's been an uptick. There are people getting persecuted that are Christians there. There are Christians that have been there from America that are now being sent back to America. It was kind of a high tension area while we were there. You could sense it, and it was interesting because, like, you had to be a little more careful with sharing the gospel. And we're sitting there trying to figure out, especially even in Nepal, like, both of them are Hindu countries. It was interesting to feel that resistance, to know people are watching you and that the government is like watching your move. It was interesting to be a part of what, the squad that has been there. They were in Nepal, and we all kind of went to India together, and they stayed for another month. And there was a very Hindu religious holiday that just came up, and you could sense the uproar in the spirit, especially surrounding those gods and those spirits that were there, because there are spirits behind those gods and idols that they worship, and you could just sense, like I said, the resistance and the warfare that was in the atmosphere. And there's a very, very powerful woman of God that was there with us. And she and her husband do a lot of prayer assignments, and they understand, like, how to intercede for nations. And they were able to shine some light on, like, how to evangelize effectively in a culture that is so shut off, not only in their legal system, but also spiritually. Like you couldn't get the word of God into their hearts. It was just very resistant in the spirit. It was hard. It was hard ground, and it was a different feel to it. As we were equipping and training, and also, ministering with these guys, um, it was you had to strategize, and you had to get into alignment with what the will of the Lord was. We couldn't just go in there and like spray the gospel and expect what to land, because that wasn't an effective mode in this culture. And those areas where there's been work, and there's been tilling, and there's been work being put in by previous generations, and now the harvest is ready, you can go and do it because the ground is soft and the seed lands. But here it was hard, so we had to go with a different strategy. And the Lord kind of invited us into a place, and she shined a light and said, the Lord asked us to make disciples of all the nations, to preach the word of God to all the nations. Not the people in the nations, but the nation as a whole. And that you do that through prayer. And it was getting to come into agreement and alignment with the fact that the Spirit of the living God lived in us, and He does live in us. And the very light that we speak into the atmosphere causes the spirits that are around us to bow at his presence. And we did a lot of interceding for this country and learning what the Lord wanted to do in that way, which was to disciple the nation, to release the Spirit of God over a nation, to take territory in the Spirit, so that in time, those places that are hard now will be soft, because the Lord is there warring and being released over these hardened places and in these dark spots, where this idol worship is consuming the hearts and darkening their vision so they cannot see or receive the light. Was a good perspective, and it was cool to join the Lord in that. So it looked a lot different this trip, but it was very effective, and I feel like it's probably more effective than us going to share the gospel with every person that we saw. We got to pray for the people, we got to pray for entire nation, we got to tear down spiritual strongholds that were governing an entire people group, and reinstate and reinstitute the Spirit of God to come and move, and to take dominion and be releasing His angels to minister to those nations and those people in the nations. So it was good, and there were so many cool testimonies about Nepal that the squad were telling us about as we were debriefing them, and equipping and teaching and just getting to minister and pastor their hearts, because they're out there for a long time. They get wore down. They need a refresher and an uplifting, and to be stirred up and to be recommissioned for the next country and the next assignment that the Lord has on their lives for this next country. So we got to do a little bit of that while we're out there. We're out there for about a month, and just spending time with that squad and the team that's out there, and ministering and equipping and raising up. Man, they had a cool testimony coming out of Nepal. They went into the Himalaya mountains with a pastor that grew up Buddhist, and he got saved radically by one of his friends that happened to share the gospel with him, I believe, I think actually he was just singing a gospel song, and he heard it, and he was wondering what that was, and through that he got salvation. And this guy come from the mountains of, like, the Himalayan mountains of Nepal, and they trekked through the Himalayas up to this village to continue to share the gospel in these villages where the gospel has not been heard. And it's fertile in these places because it's a lot less resistance in those areas. So when they were going, man, they told a story about this guy that was sick pretty much on his deathbed. They expected him to pass away within the week. And they walked in, they immediately saw the guy perk up just by the Spirit of God being on them. And they prayed over him and declared healing. And they walked off to go to the next village that was up there. And on their way back the next day, they couldn't find the guy because he was out working in the field with all his strength, with a healed body in his right mind, and completely restored by the Lord. It was the craziest story I've heard. And it was just crazy. And there was so many other stories just like this that these guys had encountered with the Lord while they were out trekking up the mountain to share the gospel in these nations. Especially in Nepal. There was a lot of fruit that came out of Nepal for these guys, which is really sweet to be a part of indirectly, and everybody that has donated and got to be a part and has sowed into my life and has by part sowed into their lives, and everything that they're reaping out there that the Lord has brought them, and the crowns that they'll be receiving in heaven, you'll also be a part of it. And I get to be a part of that. We all get to be a part of it because we are sowing into the kingdom. We're planting our treasures and our hearts and desires to see his kingdom come. And he responds to that. And there's like riches that are being built up for us in heaven. So I just appreciate everybody that has been a part of it. I appreciate everybody that has sown into what I get to do here and has been supportive and has been a part. I just want to thank you guys. I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. I thank you for listening, responding to the Lord, and also having a heart to just want to join into what he's doing here on the earth, because he's moving and he has a desire to see the nations know him and to see the nations encounter him and to see everybody become worshipers of his glory, because that's what we're created to do. So I just thought I would share with you guys, and I hope you guys are being blessed. And I'm still needing fundraising. If you guys are interested, if you're still watching the video, if you're interested and want to be a part of what God is doing, I'm going to Turkey next, and I'm making a video about this as well, because it's a really cool opportunity that we happen to run into, Jen and I. And we're going to be joining some friends of ours who are going to pray over the churches and reclaim the authority that was lost by the churches, the original 7 churches, and just be praying and interceding for the church as a whole. And we're going to go to every spot that there was a church in Turkey and pray. And we're going to intercede, and we're going to reclaim territory that was given away. So I will need funding for that, and just want to invite you guys also into that and to being a part of what, God's doing all over the nations. And also it's just not in the nations, also in the hearts and souls of even Americans that are here, and the church at large that is here, that is like the hub of Christianity right now. And we are moving, and he's using the body to move and expand and to share his glory with those who do not know. And he does it through prayer, he does it through intercession, and he does it through willing bodies and willing hearts who want to sow into it. So if that interests you, there will be a link. Go ahead and donate there, and that will be the way you can partner with me and with the kingdom and with God himself. So love you guys, and just appreciate everything you've done. Hope this video was a blessing to you.